All right, so I think the character is all set. All right, I guess it's time to go ahead and play some Starfield. Name, he'll be just a regular old Bob. He's just that kind of guy. What's that? Okay. What? What? What is this? What? Oh, okay. So we're gonna start with some Starfield. I just find it so funny that grown men, out of everything going on in the world, out of everything that could be going on in their life, that is just infinitely more important, they want to cry about the identity of the character that you create. Oh, it's so stupid. It's so goddamn dumb. But that isn't what I want to talk about today. I want to talk about Starfield and just how much it disappoints me. It's just crazy how the people that gave us, Skyrim, Fallout, it's just their ability to drop the ball so easily after all this trial and error. It's just so confusing. And I went ahead and I made a list of things that I feel needs to be touched on. And it's stuff that's been covered before. It isn't anything new. But hopefully what I bring up is something that has been talked about before, because there's been a few times where I talked to people about it and even they're like, oh yeah, I actually you're kind of right about that. So I'm just gonna bring it up and just fucking shoot the shit, I guess. It's just so goddamn infuriating to think about. So my first biggest complaint, honestly, is how no one really knows who you are. And what I mean by this is, like, let's say you do something, okay, for example, the mission in the well, where you have to help that one engineer against the trading authority, whatever their name is, or I already forgot. When you help her, you have to work with the trade authority too, and you learn that the trade authority is basically like draining electricity from the well, being an absolute selfish bitch. What are you doing? You can't do that, that's wrong. And if you side with the engineer, the lady at the trade authority, oh, she despises you. Oh my gosh, she's like, oh, how dare you? How dare you betray me? How dare you betray the trade authority, But if you go back later on in the game and talk to her, she talks to you just like you're a normal customer. She does not remember you. There's no dialogue that leads to you, like, being remembered. And it isn't the only example. There are other examples of missions where you just do this specific thing that might help or screw someone over, and you go to talk to them later and they just don't remember. And it's very immersion breaking, because I'm expecting to get I'm expecting to feel some kind of hate towards me, but there's just nothing. It's just another drone that says the same thing over and over again. Because, at least, when you played Skyrim, there was consequences. If you stole from someone, they would learn about that and send mercenaries after you. And then you'd pick up the letter and realize, oh, well, they just tried to kill me. Oh, what an asshole. And it's very disappointing. Because it's hard to see whenever a company in previous games can get things right, and then they completely drop the ball later after hyping something up so much. And there's also kind of other examples, not just the dialogue of consequences. There's also Barrett's ship. It's come to my attention that when Barrett gives you the ship, it's not actually his ship, but it's actually the group's ship, the company's. I can't remember the fucking name. Constellation. It's actually Constellation ship. But the thing is, I kept that ship because I was like, if I see Barrett again, I'm gonna give it back to him and tell him, hey, I still got your ship. I didn't want to sell it. I didn't want to get rid of it. I still have it. And then I talk to him. I do his whole quest line. And he never brings up that ship again. And it was at that point where somebody told me, like, oh, well, it's because when you ask him, he's saying that it's actually like Constellation property or something. But the thing is, if you look around that ship, it's very obvious that that ship is personal to him. Like, he has all of his stuff set up in it, he has artifacts in it, diary logs. Obviously, this ship, if it's anyone's, it's his. So the idea that he kind of just throws it to the wind, like, it's whatever, don't worry about it. It's not what a person would do. It's, even if he doesn't own it, like, you can't say that he doesn't care for it or care for the ship. So the idea that he just kind of ignores it, it's just, it just doesn't feel right. And I think that's one thing that really breaks the immersion, is knowing that, at the end of the day, it's a game, and you're not immersed. And there's not going to be consequences for doing wrong. The weaponry in this game is something else. Don't get me wrong, I like the space fantasy aesthetic of them all, even though there's that one guy who made a video just shitting on all of them, putting them in a tier list, which I thought was very funny. But I do like the designs of the guns and everything, but when I think about Fallout 4, one of the things, or not even just Fallout 4, any of the Fallout games, what I like about them is the ability to carry any weapon I find. Because all of them kind of have their own unique thing about them. None of them are really better than the other unless you put, the points into it. Like, in New Vegas, you want to be that rootin' tootin' gunslinging kapow kind of guy. You can do that by putting points in the small arms and just carry around revolvers, or just any like small firearm. Like, yeah, okay, that works. The main problem I have with Starfield's guns is that, one, they fell into the category of having like common, uncommon, legendary. I don't think they should do that, because that kind of makes you not want to use common weaponry that looks cool compared to this legendary big gun that you found earlier. And it just makes you kind of lose interest in wanting to kind of find them, because you might, because like, okay, literally there is a gun that I had in my playthrough. It was one of the revolver type guns. I'll put it up on the screen. I'm probably gonna go back and find it. I found that gun pretty early on, and I used it through my entire playthrough. It had an amazing fire rate. I had good reload speed. Headshots and crits did amazing damage. When I picked up a different gun, it just wasn't cutting it. And I kind of found at that point that I was like, I don't want to use anything else, because there's not really a point to. The only downside of that gun was that I went through ammo pretty quickly, but I mean, that I wouldn't really say that was a huge problem. And the other thing is, there's not really any specialty weapons. Because when I think of specialty weapons, the first thing that comes to mind is Fallout 4. What's that one called? The Cannoneer. Literally the cannon that you carry around, the junk jet, stuff like that. And they're very special because they're one of a kind. In Starfield, I only found like 2 guns that were one of a kind, and even then, I didn't use them because the gun I had was still better, even though they were like legendary weapons. The only difference was their paint job. And then you look at the missions you do. When you work for the Rangers, when you finish up, they keep, or not even the Rangers, it's 3 different quests where each of them gave me like this long rifle, like sniper rifle. I believe it was like with the Freestar Rangers and just, that kind of area. And it was all the same rifle, just with different names and tier lists. But it was all the same. It literally looked no different from each other. And that gets very annoying, because, I mean, just how long can you keep giving me the same gun and saying it's special when really it's not? Besides maybe the stats on it. But at the end of the day, I didn't use long rifles, so there was no point in me using these. It's very disappointing to see that there's all these guns, and yet there's nothing special about them besides the name. And it's just, yeah, that's just how I feel about it. I'm not gonna say too much on this, because I understand that making a new engine or updating it, it takes a lot of work. A lot of people gotta put a lot of time into it. They obviously wanted this game to be out. But I gotta admit, it playing like Fallout 4 it's just disappointing. It feels just like a game with a mod. That's how it feels. The movement. The only big difference is that you have like the booster packs. But I mean, those were kind of in Fallout 4 too, because you could put jetpacks on the power armor, and it's just they just had so much they could have worked with. Like, the only, I could say, new mechanic from it is that you could like climb ledges, and whoop-de-doo. Let me go play Fortnite so I can play just to climb ledges. Let me go play any other game so I can just go climb ledges. It's not anything new. It's very disappointing, because, like I said before, you're hyping up this game, but you're adding nothing new to it besides a coat of paint. And it's just disappointing. I cannot explain to you how excited I was when an EM rifle was put in my hands. Little spoiler alert for the game, and not really that much of a spoiler, it's one of the missions for one of the factions. These giant creatures attack New Atlantis. I cannot remember the name of the bad memory. But these creatures attack it. They can control people, and a character tosses you an EM rifle and says, "Hey, don't kill them, use the EM rifle to knock them out." And I'm like, oh, really? I can knock people out? This opens up so many possibilities. And so, I'm using it, and it's pretty good. It knocks them out. Outside of that mission, it usually knocks people out for a second. Robots can usually get back up. I think most humans can stay down pretty long. But when I had gotten that rifle, I was excited because I was like, oh man, if I do law stuff, for the Freestar Rangers, I can take in the bad guys. I can bring them to justice. I can knock people out. Like, and it opens up the avenue for no damage runs, or not no damage, but no kill runs, stuff like that. Can't be Starfield, like killing anybody. So I thought that was very cool. That was until I did the Freestar Ranger missions and realized that it's just a glorified knockout gun. I remember there is one point when you have to take on the big bad evil guy, or not the big bad evil guy, but one of his mini bosses. And I remember I pulled out the EM rifle and I was like, I'm gonna take this guy down. I killed everyone but him. I knocked him out. And then I looked at him and I would have talked to him to see if maybe I can get him up, bring him in, lock him up, throw away the key. But nothing happened. And I was sitting there going, what's going on here? I knocked him out. I won. I did it. I did it. And then I looked at my objective marker, and it said to kill big bad evil guy. Even though in the dialogue, I made it very clear I wanted to take him alive. That was really disappointing to me, because it adds on to what I had said before. You hype up this game, but you can't even allow us to make the choices that our character would make. It's just like the title says, disappointing. Whenever I first saw the lockpicking, I was like, okay, it's different. That's fine. I understand that you don't want to be too repetitive with how Skyrim and Fallout does. I get that. At first, it took some getting used to, definitely. I wasn't a big fan of it at first. But after a while, after putting some points in the lockpicking and doing it a bit more, I was enjoying it. I started to get used to doing it, and when you get it when you line up the things just right on the first try, very satisfying. It makes you feel like you can take on the world. But as I kept playing and they got harder, it wasn't the difficulty that annoyed me. It was that every slip up costed me more digipicks than I could afford. Or not afford, but could get. You have to hope that you can find some, and even if you do, it's only like 1 or 2. When you go to buy some, vendors usually only sell 3. So if you're doing a master lock and you try to go back and fix it after you've messed up, you've wasted about 6 digipicks out of the, what, you could have 9, you waste 6, you got 3 left, and you gotta hope you don't find another master lock, or at least hope you don't mess it up. Now, I could say it comes down to me being impatient. I accept that, that's just who I am. But there's one thing that does bother me, and that is that lockpicking really isn't worth it unless you're just trying to make a shortcut. It's not good for exploration or for looting. And the reason I say that is because the amount of times that I picked through a door, opened it, found a chest that I also had to lockpick and opened it, and then I would find something that just wasn't worth my time was most of the time. I would pick something open, it would be a master lock, and in it would be maybe some scrap materials for outposts, which I never did, because outposts are kind of just a waste of time. And it might have a gun that might have been good if I wouldn't have found a revolver that was already 10 times better way before that. And it just really killed my need to explore. You know, when playing Skyrim, there's never a locked door that I never try to pick open. Never. Because usually when I open it, there's a chance that I'll find something that's worth it. It could be some potions, it could be some supplies I can use back on my homestead, you know. There's usually something there that's worth my time. Even if it's a few pieces of gold, you know, gold adds up, you know. And you know, you could say the same for Starfield, but it's not really that worth it, considering the only thing I usually take out of the chests is maybe 1 healing item and a couple credits, and the rest is just stuff that weighs me down. And it's disappointing, because I like exploring Bethesda games. I like exploring in Fallout and in Skyrim. So it just really hurts whenever I'm noticing later on, like in late stages of the game, that there's just no point in me exploring because there's nothing satisfying in it. And I hate to see that happen, because it's usually done so right, and to see it fall flat just kills me. Now, this is something that was actually brought up by another YouTuber, General Sam, and I just felt like it was such a good detail that was pointed out that I didn't realize until he said it, and that's that Ebside has no character. If you don't know what Ebside is, it is a section of Neon that is supposed to be the crime area. You know, it's a bad place, you don't want to be there, it's bad, you know. You know, whenever you first walk in, there's a guy at the door that literally says like, "Hey man, hey, this is a dangerous part of town. You might need a guide." Well, I told him basically just fuck off. I was like, I don't care. I want to see what's going on here. And then you walk around, and you realize that nothing's going on. It's actually pretty calm around there. To find anything actually wrong, you actually need to like go to different places. Like, you have to basically accept quests. Like, there's one lady who her husband was murdered by corrupt cops. You can find a gang to join, which, side note, I actually went back to go try and talk to them because I didn't immediately join. I tried to go back to talk, and the game glitched, and I actually couldn't do their missions, so thanks, guys. But what happened was there's just nothing there. There's no character to it. And the reason that it's brought up is because when you think of Fallout New Vegas and was it Freeside? that's a place that's pretty dangerous. You know, you go there, you see kids chasing rats for food. You immediately are bombarded by a bunch of bodyguards who one is literally trying to scam you. Occasionally, you'll get like a hobo who tries to attack you. You know, stuff is going on there. But there's absolutely nothing going on in Ebside, so it's just something I want to bring up. It's surprising to see that there's such a lack of character in it, and you know, you could say it's because Obsidian made it, which I mean, fair enough. I mean, it's a good point to bring up, but it's very funny considering whenever you try to compare them. Just to make it clear, we're gonna be going into spoiler territory. If you have any interest in the game, this will be the time to stop the video and go play it. Otherwise, basically, the ending is very hypocritical. At least from my point of view of it. Look at it this way. Your character is an explorer. You know, explorers are driven in going to many places and finding out what is there, to see the mysteries of the world and everything behind it. So then, imagine that you are essentially stuck in a time loop, and you allow yourself to end up in that. You choose to end up in that. That's what I find hypocritical about the ending. Basically, once you create the entire artifact, I can't remember the exact name of it, you find out that the Starborn, which is this random alien race that occasionally attacks you after you find a relic, that they're actually different versions of people you know from another universe. One being Barrett, and another being this priest that you talk to like twice. And the way it works is that once you complete all the relics, you too can become Starborn. Now they kind of like gatekeep it in a way, which is kind of funny. One is like both basically do it for power. They're not really that different from each other. You can basically end their squabble with like a few dialogue checks. So if you have a charismatic base character, you've won the game. So you basically say like, yeah, I'm gonna take it, I'm gonna come Starborn. So what happens is you're transported away from your universe to another, and the whole gimmick is just that you can play the entire game again. But it's like New Game Plus, it's literally just New Game Plus. Which, I mean, okay, that's great, but now here's the problem. I can't make my character have an ending. Like, there's no ending for my character. All your relationships with everyone has been completely just replaced. And that becomes very annoying. Because, you know, a lot of people who are really into RP, you know, when they do Skyrim or Fallout, they imagine like how the ending goes for the character, especially Skyrim, you know. You build a little house, you're like, oh yeah, you know, maybe there's a few more adventures before he lays down. But no, my adventurer in Starfield, whose whole thing is exploration, is now essentially stuck in a time loop. Because let's be honest, there's never going to be a reason for him to stop getting more of the relics. I mean, he just basically just keeps going back in time and going in between. Like, 'cause let's be honest here, it's not a different universe. Nothing changes. It's basically you're going back in time and you're just essentially stuck in a time loop. And I just find it very hypocritical that, you know, you have this character who joins a group of explorers that love finding out new things about the universe, and then everything they do is wasted. It is instead them just like looping, and the ending drives me insane because it's just, there's nothing to it. There's no meat potatoes, there's nothing. You're just gonna continue. Also, I just want to point out there that whenever you do become Starborn, you get like new armor and a ship. Both are garbage. Both absolutely suck for in-game content. Like, you lose everything you had before and you get this new stuff. You start with basically nothing, and both suck. Both are so horrible. I would have preferred to keep my old stuff, even though my armor looked like I was the fucking Marshmallow Man. Alright, like, it was, it's just so fucking bad. Now, would I say this game isn't worth your time? I wouldn't say that. At first, I was enjoying it. I was enjoying the world, I was enjoying the mechanics, I was enjoying the fighting. It's just, the longer you look at it, the more cracks you see. And even while making this video, I realized that there is a lot of things I actually didn't touch on, but I don't want to, because to me they're too minute to really say that they're worth a chapter. I would say if you wanted to get Starfield, either wait for a sale or use Xbox Game Pass, because that's how I played it personally. Because I was worried that it wouldn't be great. And a lot of people say, hey, well, Skyrim wasn't perfect on first release. Yeah, but Skyrim is very, very old and very, very expansive just for what it was vanilla-wise. Starfield had time to cook. It had everything going for it. It had the hype, it had the people behind it. And I just really hate that. I'm not saying it's the developer's fault. I don't believe it is. I think at the end of the day, it comes down to the people that hype it up and the people behind the developers that are pushing for the game, that want them to have it out by this specific time. No hitting the brakes. We need to get it out by this time. So I'm not saying it's the developer's fault. I'm sure that at some point they'll add updates and they'll add expansions that add to the game. And I might check them out when they do. But for right now, at the price it's at, I wouldn't say it's worth it. I'd say save your money and wait. But that's gonna be it for me. So yeah. See you and thank you for watching.